What's going on, everybody? Jolt here from the Token Minorities, and today I'm bringing you the Week 4 match of the NPL against the New York Metangs, coached by my friend Razorwolf24. Now, this is the coach that actually handed me my first loss of my NPL career in Week 1 of Season 2, actually, last season. So I'm definitely looking for a little bit of revenge in this match, as I did feel like I played well in my first match against him, but Hax was not on my side whatsoever, so definitely looking to avenge that this week. But before I dive into any more on this video, I wanted to apologize for a couple things. First, my voice probably sounds a little bit hoarse right now, and that's because I have a very nasty head cold. I'm trying to get over that as we speak, but hopefully that's not too annoying to you guys. But the thing I really wanted to apologize for is the fact that I was not able to upload a team building video, or a separate team building video for you guys, and that is due to the fact that this has been a very busy week in college, and I've been sick and just haven't really had the time nor motivation to really get that done. So I decided to just lump them together in this video. This will be a team building video plus the battle at the end, just kind of similar to the format that I used last season for my battles. So now diving into the actual content of the video. So looking at his team, he's the New York Metangs over here on the left side, as you can see by the arrow. He has Excadrill, Staraptor, Raikou, Suicune, Conkeldurr, Gyarados, Meloetta, Crocodile, Shaman, Haxorus, and Mega Altaria. Now, just looking at his team at a glance, it does look pretty threatening, but the good news is, I actually seem to have a pretty favorable matchup here, as I have counters to really most of his team. The most notable threats on his team to my team probably are the Raikou, I guess the Suicune to an extent, and then the Shaman and Meloetta. Those four mons are really the only four that I have to prepare extra carefully for, as I just have counters to the rest of his team. So my matchup going in this week is pretty nice. I'm definitely looking forward to playing in this game. It's much easier to team build when you have a good matchup, which is something I have not been so fortunate about for the past couple weeks. So that's kind of my initial thought, just looking at his team, and just some observations, I guess, as to what my team is going to be pretty effective against him offensively. I see that Dragonite can put in a lot of work with the appropriate moveset and items, so I probably will consider bringing that in this game. And then I also picked up Blaziken in free agency, which I strongly considered in building my team, just because it does seem to have a good matchup against the majority of his team, even if his speed is a little bit low, as Speed Boost Blaziken is not allowed, unfortunately for me, in this league. So I have a Blaziken that I could potentially bring. I also see that Porygon Z could be very effective, as his only resistance to Tri-Attack is Excadrill, and Excadrill generally cannot take hits from Porygon Z very well. So that's my thought originally. Let's jump into the team building process. Alright, so first things first, just looking at his team, I noticed that my standard wall core is very, very good against him, that being Mega Venusaur, Skarmory, and Clefable, so without a doubt, I'll be bringing those mons in this game. The question is, how do I want to structure those mons to most effectively beat his team? Well, Mega Venusaur needs to be a physical wall. I need this because he does have Conkeldurr, he has Excadrill, and I need Mega Venusaur to be able to switch in on those if for some reason Skarmory is at low health. So defensive Mega Venusaur is pretty necessary in this game, I guess, also for the purpose of Crocodile and for the purpose of DD Mega Altaria, as this is going to be a great switch into any of them, and he only has one switch into Leech Seed, that being Shaman, which I can bob with the Sludge Bomb if I predict it correctly. So I think Mega Venusaur is going to be very good this game. And I added a little bit of speed investment to speed creepers basically, so nothing too exciting there. Then I brought Skarmory with a Rocky Helmet this time, such to deter his Excadrill from trying to spin against me, and if he wants to try to spin against me, that's going to hurt him a lot more than it hurts me, as this is going to be a spike layer Skarmory. I can continue to put up spike pressure against his team if he decides to try to leave in Excadrill against me. I can Brave Bird it down, I can lay up spikes against it, I can defog away his rocks, as that's probably going to be his rocker. So really, Skarmory is going to be very effective in this game, especially against the Excadrill, but more importantly against the Haxorus, as Haxorus could be a huge threat to my team if it weren't for the fact that Haxorus doesn't learn any fire moves outside of Incinerate, and Haxorus's special attack stat is pretty darn low if I remember correctly. So Skarmory is going to be very, very helpful in this game, and I quite frankly don't see it dying as long as I don't do something stupid against the Raikou. So that's the idea with that. And then I brought Clefable. I'm going to bring Clefable, that is, with a special defensive investment, as I need this to be my switch into Raikou, I need it to be my switch into Meloetta, and my switch into Shaman if I can dodge the Seed players. It's a little bit iffy in the Shaman department, but I do have Dragonite, which can switch in pretty nicely against that as well, which I'll show here in a little bit. But this kind of completes the wall core. I decided to bring a Calm Mind variant of Clefable such that I can guaranteed beat Raikou 1v1 if he decides to be a PP stall variant, which I know he did use a couple times last season when he had Raikou on his team, so I'm definitely on the lookout for that, and I want to make sure that I can combat that appropriately. So this was the ideal wall core for this game, and I'm 100% confident in that. Now moving on to my sweeper options, I brought Porygon Z first and foremost, as I mentioned earlier in the video. Porygon Z, he doesn't have many switches to Porygon Z. His only switch into a Tri-Attack is something with an Assault Vest or Excadrill. And quite frankly, Excadrill is not the best switch into Porygon Z, as every time he brings in Excadrill, that's a free switch in my Skarmory, and that's going to either be free Defog or free Spikes against his team, which his team does not appreciate whatsoever whenever Excadrill is pressured the way it's going to be in this game. I brought Shrek on Porygon Z such that I can neuter the Suicune if that becomes a problem. Maybe if my Clefable gets burned or is at low health, I can trick the Suicune into Scald, and then I can basically get my health back up with Clefable or Venusaur or whatever. I can wall Suicune very well if it is tricked a Choice Scarf. Or I can wall Suicune very well if it is tricked a Choice Scarf. So that's the idea with this set, and I think this will also be pretty good against this team. Now I have Dragonite with a Choice Band. This time I am not bringing Earthquake on this set. Even though Earthquake would be good against Raikou, it'd be good against Excadrill, I don't think it's my best option here, as Extreme Speed is a necessity in this matchup, particularly if he has a Dragon Dance Haxorus and if Skarmory for some reason gets weakened. It's also really good against Raikou, which otherwise would have a very good matchup against my team outside of Clefable, of course. And overall, it's just a great move to have on a Banded Dragonite. It's very powerful. Then I have Dragon Claw over Outrage so that I can't get trapped and KO'd by Mega Altaria after knocking something out with Outrage. That'd just be very sad when Dragonite's going to be very helpful in this game to break through his team a little bit. And then Thunder Punch is there for the Suicune, as it's, I believe, it's guaranteed 2-hit KO on defensive Suicune. And then Iron Head is there for the Mega Altaria if he does decide to bring it. So that's the idea with this set, and I decided to just max out my speed with an Adamant Nature such that I can speed tie, I believe, Mega Altaria and Gyarados. I believe that's correct, Gyarados. So I didn't want to underspeed them just in case they were a threat or something. I wanted to be able to hit them for maximum damage. And then the last mon that I decided to bring was what I thought would actually be my offensive win condition, or one of my offensive win conditions. Really, Dragonite is the only thing I don't think is a win condition in this game. Dragonite's going to be there to weaken his team so that Porygon Z can sweep a Tri-Attack in the end, or such that SD, Passo, Parry, Terrakion can do work in the end, as well as his only switch-ins to Terrakion are Suicune and Gyarados. And what do you know, I'm going to run the Water Resist Berry Passo such that he can probably be lured into going for a Scald or going for a Waterfall against me, and then I can get some big damage off against him. If he brings in a Suicune, I'll just go for a Swords Dance, pray for no burn, and then go in with a close combat and do a lot of damage. If he brings in Gyarados, then of course I can just go straight for the Stone Edge, as that should be a 2-hit KO even after Intimidate on offensive Gyarados. So that's the team. I'm feeling pretty confident going into this game, as really, like I've said, my matchup seems pretty solid. But let's go ahead and jump into the actual battle, which is on Wi-Fi this time, so I'll be right back. Alright, so here we are with the actual battle, and just looking at the team preview, I'm actually really impressed with his team building in this game, as he probably brought the best combination of 6 mons he could have possibly brought against me, as I actually felt a little bit of pressure here at team preview, as he did bring both Shaman and Meloetta, which was something I didn't really anticipate. I thought he'd bring one or the other, but the fact that he brought both actually is going to pressure, and Raikou for that matter, is actually going to pressure my Clefable a lot in this game, so I'm going to have to be really careful about keeping Clefable at high enough health to be able to wall those 3 mons and then win out basically with the rest of my team. So that's the initial thought that went through my head, and then I also have to figure out what his offensive options are with Meloetta, as I am just looking at team preview expecting this to be an Assault Vest variant, as that just makes the most sense here. I thought there was a chance that he could run a Choice Specs variant so that he could OHKO Mega Venusaur, but just the fact that he lacks switch-ins to Porygon Z tells me he probably is bringing Assault Vest. Either Assault Vest this or Assault Vest Excadrill, but he needs a rocker, so I'm assuming Excadrill's the rocker. Meloetta's an Assault Vest variant, and I'll kind of make my predictions based upon those facts. So let's go ahead and jump into the battle. I do decide to lead off with my Clefable, as it has a good matchup against exactly one half of his team, and everything that Clefable has a poor matchup against I can easily just switch into a counter without any issues. So I thought this was my best lead, and I was kind of expecting him to lead Raikou, which is what he decides to do. So I'm definitely in a pretty good situation immediately, and what I can do is just scout for his moveset by going for a Wish on turn 1 as he goes for Volt Switch, and that damage reveals that he's absolutely a Specs Raikou, and that's a little bit scary, as now I definitely have to play carefully with my Clefable so that I can take more hits in the future. But he decides to go straight into his Excadrill, which guarantees to me that he's going to be a rocker. Even though Excadrill is obviously his best switch into Clefable, it just makes sense that the reason he goes into it this early in the game is because it's probably a rocker, and that's what he's going to go for here. But it doesn't matter, because I'm not going to just stay in on the potential Iron Head, and I'm going to go straight to my Mega Venusaur to get off my Mega Evolution for free, as I had a Wish up, there was no risk whatsoever, and this is going to allow me to Mega Evolve on the following turn, and begin the process of wearing down his team little by little with all of the forms of latent damage that I have packed in this game. So I'm just going to go for the Leech Seed on this turn as it goes into his Meloetta, which again is a little scary because Clefable's now weakened, and I have to be a little bit careful again in this case, as I don't want to let Clefable get weakened too much. So I believe as I go for the Leech Seed here, I'm getting a little ahead of myself. I guess I'll slow down a little bit, and because we're going to have some after turn effects of course now, but I believe that my best play here is to go into my Skarmory, predicting the Psyshock, as that's very safe. There's no way whatsoever he's going to go for like a Charge Beam or a Thunderbolt on this turn. So I'm just going to go into my Skarmory here, as this also could give me an opportunity to go for the Defog if he decides to pull a double back into his Excadrill, expecting my Clefable. I thought that was a possibility, but he goes into his Shaman, and I wanted to scout again for the moveset here. I knew I could take any hit from him, even a Specs HP Fire, and that damage tells me this might be an Expert Belt version variant, and that's also very good information, because I know it's not Scarfed, and I know it's not Specs, so he can definitely change up his move option as he wishes. So now that I got the Defog off, I'm going to go straight into Dragonite, as this should be a very safe switch, and he reveals Psychic here, which is kind of interesting. It's not really a move I expected him to bring this week. I expected Dazzling Gleam instead of Psychic. Like Seed Flare, Air Slash, Dazzling Gleam, and Hidden Power Fire was the moveset that I would have expected, but he has Psychic, so that's cool, I guess. And he just goes straight into his Gyarados on my Dragonite, which is something I definitely did not anticipate. And looking at this damage from Dragon Claw, that did 0, so this is definitely a defensive Gyarados. Even after Intimidate, that did 0, because I am Choice Banded. And yeah, now I have to play around this a little bit differently than I had anticipated, as this very well could be carrying Thunder Wave, so I'm going to scout for Thunder Wave here by switching into my Mega Venusaur, and he does reveal it. So now Mega Venusaur is going to be paralyzed, which kind of is unfortunate, because now if the Shaman is carrying Air Slash, then he could Paraflinch me down. But the fact that he has Psychic, it means I guess he might not have Air Slash. That's definitely something to consider at this point. But I am still going to go for the Sludge Bomb on this turn, expecting him to try to predict my Leech Seed, and I can hopefully catch the Shaman coming in, and luckily I do catch the Shaman, and it's going to take about 50% from the Sludge Bomb, which is beautiful, because now it should be an extreme speed range from my Dragonite, which is absolutely fantastic. Here he just goes for the Air Slash, revealing he does have Air Slash and Psychic on the same set, which again I don't really agree with, but to each their own, and he does get the flinch because he is the Hacks God from NYC, self-proclaimed that is. So I do switch out here. I guess he expected me to stay in and go for another Sludge Bomb, so it goes into his Meloetta to eat that up. But I make a nice switch into my Clefable, which was pretty optimal overall, I should say. As rocks are not up, this lets me get either damage back from, or health back from leftovers, or just give me a good switch into whatever he wants to do to my Mega Venusaur. So knowing that I can take any hit from this thing, I'm just going to go for a Wish and scout for what his decision is. In a way that could have been risky, because that very well could have been a choiced Meloetta and very well could have gone for a Trick on that turn. But I decided to take the risk just under my assumption at Team Preview that he was probably an Assault Vest variant, and luckily that did work out for me here, as I'm able to get the majority of my health back there from the Wish, as he reveals Charge Beam on the Protect, which is interesting, and that definitely lets me know that I cannot switch into my Skarmory against this Meloetta freely. I can do it, but it's not the most safe option in the world, and I definitely will have that in the back of my mind. Now this next series of events is going to get slightly stally just because I'm trying to get myself back up to as high amount of health as possible so that I can most effectively take hits from this thing, Shaman and Raikou. So that's kind of my thought process these next few turns, and really that's all there is to it. I don't like having to kind of stall it out a little bit like this, but it was my best play because I need this thing as healthy as possible to win this game in the end. So that's kind of what's going on here. On one of these turns, I believe I just go for the Moonblast to scout for the item. That turn has not come yet. I believe it's whenever I get up to full health after a wish that I just go for the Moonblast on the Meloetta to scout the item. And I believe that should be coming up here in 2 more turns as I go for a Protect to get myself up to full health again. And I do notice that he's just continuously going for Psych Shock, so I definitely could heal my Skarmory up with the Wish at some point if I wanted to, as I do not anticipate him ever going for Charge Beam in this situation. It just doesn't make much sense, you know? But here I am, I believe, just going to go for the Moonblast as he switches out his Meloetta, which was a play that I guess works for him. He goes into his Raikou though, which is beautiful for me because every bit of damage is very helpful on that Raikou. As soon as I get damage on Raikou with this, it should be in range of my Porygon Z's Choice Scarf Tri-Attack, which is fantastic. It also should be nearly in range of Extreme Speed from Dragonite at this point. So really I just need a little more damage on this, probably from Spikes or Stealth Rock, and it should be in good shape to pull off a sweep late game. So now he Volt Switches into his Meloetta, which was something that was totally expected, as Meloetta seems to at least create a stalemate against my Clefable, in that I can't really attack it for fear of being 2-hit KO'd by Psyshock, and he can't really do much to me either. He decides to go for a Psyshock here, and I decided to take the risk of a crit and just go for the Moonblast on this turn, and again, finally gauge the damage on this Meloetta, and that damage pretty much guarantees that that's going to be an Assault Vest variant, considering it did that much damage with a critical hit. So that's good information to have, and it's nice to confirm my suspicion in Team Preview. Now here I'm just going to go for the Free Protect. I don't see him doing anything scary. It's an Assault Vest variant. There's no threat of him setting up on me, and or setting up a substitute or anything, so the Protect was very free in this situation. And now we're going to kind of get back to our stalling ways if he decides to leave in his Meloetta, but luckily he does not. He decides to switch into Esteban, Julio, Ricardo, Montoya, De La Rosa, Ramirez, and that would be his Shaman as I go for the Wish, which is very, very free. Although this is a play I'm not too fond of on his end, as because I got the Wish up on that turn, I'm not fearing this whatsoever, as I'm a Spidef variant, and there's absolutely nothing that an Expert Belt Shaman can do to me that would threaten me. He, of course, could get Spidef drops with Seed Flare, as Unaware does not block my own Spidef drops, but it's not a big deal in this case, because luckily he does not get the drop on Spidef. But, I don't know, it's just not doing much damage, basically is what I'm trying to say here. Even if he does get the drop, I could probably, I could kind of play with his mind a little bit, as I do have Mega Venusaur as a fairly safe switch into this at the current health that it's at, and I could eat the Seed Flare and double back in a Clefable on Air Slash or Psychic and be okay. So this whole series of events, I'm not really, I don't agree with his decision of going into Shaman here. Maybe he was just trying to weaken me to the point where he could do something with Raikou or something with Meloetta, I don't know, but I'm not going to let my Shaman get weakened to this thing, so I'm just going to play pretty carefully here and get the Shaman down to probably 1 HP. It sure looks like 1 HP. And he did get the Seed Flare drop, I believe, on the last turn, so I'm going, or no, he got this, he gets the Seed Flare drop on this turn, as I'm going to be able to take him out with the Moonblast here coming up. He did get me pretty low on health, though, with the Spidef drop, so that's a little bit scary, as now I'm definitely in range of Raikou's Thunderbolt. I might actually be in range of Raikou's Volt Switch. I'm in range of Meloetta's Hyper Voice as well, so I have to be extremely careful now, as I'm a little under 50% and I need to make sure I get my health all the way back before I can really proceed any further in this match with Clefable. So now I'm going to take the Free Protect against Meloetta because I need every bit of health I can get in this matchup, as I mentioned many times already, and he just reveals Hyper Voice, which was very expected at this point in the game. Now here I'm going to make the kind of aggressive switch into my Terrakion, not expecting him to go for Psyshock, as he knows Psyshock will not be able to kill me from that range, and Hyper Voice should be able to, so I found that Hyper Voice would probably be his best play in that situation, and luckily I was able to make the correct prediction there going to my Terrakion. And now that Terrakion is in, he has exactly one switch into this, and that is his Gyarados, but I'm not going to really worry about that too much, as I can just go for the Close Combat followed up by a Stone Edge, and I should be able to take it out at the range of health it's currently at. Although I guess my calc was a little bit incorrect on that, as this was a defensive Gyarados, and without that critical hit, my close combat would not have done much damage at all, and I would have had to probably make a switch predicting the Thunder Wave again. So that crit was actually pretty big, and I do apologize for that, as it sped the game up a lot. I personally believe that I would have come out on top regardless of the crit, but that did allow me to take out the Gyarados here with the Stone Edge, and now I'm in a very good situation. I believe 6-4 is the score at this point. I've not lost any Mons, and he has lost Shaman and Gyarados, and I'm sitting in a pretty happy situation. Here he goes into his Raikou, which is definitely going to scare out my Terrakion, but the good news is now that Gyarados is gone, I can just spam close combat with Terrakion every time I get it in for free, and it's going to get a kill, which is absolutely fantastic. Terrakion has been identified as the win condition in this game, and I need to keep it alive for as long as possible to wear through his team, to the point where I can sweep with Porygon Z or Dragonite later on. And unfortunately here, I do actually lose my Dragonite. I spoke a little too soon on that matter, because I was expecting him to maybe be a defensive, maybe a Spadef Leftovers Excadrill, and in that case it would underspeed my Dragonite most likely, unless he speed corrected, of course. But unfortunately that's not the case. I tried to go for the Dragon Claw, I believe, just for maximum damage on that thing, maybe expecting something along the lines of a Stealth Rock, but he just takes me out with an Iron Head, reveals his Life Orb, which is fine. I just go into my Terrakion, as it's going to be a free kill, and he decides to sack his Excadrill, which was something that I thought was a little bit strange on his end, although, I mean, nothing on his team he really wanted to sack, so I guess he had to pick something, but Excadrill was his best answer to my Clefable at this point, so losing Excadrill is pretty big. It means that Clefable is now also win condition if I keep it healthy. And it also means that Venusaur is not really going to be too necessary in this game, except to absorb Thunderbolts and Volt Switches. So here he just goes for the Volt Switch, and I take a good chunk. I believe that was a critical hit, and that's fine. I really don't need Mega Venusaur to get any more KOs in this game. It's already done what it needed to do against Shaman, and now I just have to play pretty carefully around this Haxorus, as there's a chance that this could be a DD superpower variant, or it could even be a choice banded variant, but I thought regardless my best play was to go into Skarmory, because I am holding the Rocky Helmet, so as soon as he takes damage from the Rocky Helmet, he should be in range of a Tri-Attack from Porygon Z. I believe that was what I calced. Maybe, I believe, yeah, that should be correct. It's either that or after the damage from Rocky Helmet and one layer of spikes, one or the other, but regardless, he's going to take plenty of damage from the Rocky Helmet, and it turns out his best move to hit my Skarmory is just Dragon Claw, so I'm able to roost up with Skarmory. Now I'm in a very, very, very good situation in this game, as he doesn't have much left to even attempt to break through my team, especially because every time I get a Terrakion, I get a kill, which is absolutely fantastic. So I just go for the spikes, predicting either the switch out or maybe he'll try to set up on my Skarmory. Either way, spikes was my best play, as now he's going to have even a harder time avoiding getting swept by my Porygon Z, and that's absolutely the plan at this point in the game. I do just decide to sack my Mega Venusaur to the Meloetta, as I can't switch in Clefable for free. It's way too risky. There's no point in making that switch. And sacking Mega Venusaur allows me to bring in Terrakion again and just get a free kill with close combat. And he decides to sack his Meloetta here. So now really his options against Clefable are so limited that I believe all he has is Specs, Raikou, and Haxorus remaining, and he could have Poison Jab on Haxorus, but I don't really care because I have Skarmory, which walls Haxorus every day of the week. So the combination of Skarm plus Terrakion plus Clefable is going to win me this game with no doubt whatsoever in my mind. He decides to go into Raikou, and I do decide to just sack my Terrakion here, as it did get all the kills it needed to get in this game, as the two remaining Mons. I guess I can close combat KO the Haxorus at this point, but odds are he's not going to switch in Haxorus on this anyway, so he'll be a +1 after a Dragon Dance most likely, and Terrakion's not so useful at that point. But Porygon Z should just be able to clean up at this point. I believe that might have been a roll that was in my favor. It's kind of hard to tell on Wi-Fi with the damage calculator as far as how much % he has remaining, but I am able to take it out with the Tri-Attack, and then Porygon Z will be able to finish off the Haxorus as well with a Tri-Attack. So that will be the game. That was a pretty close 3-0, I would say. I felt like I was in control the entire game, but the game was made closer due to a very good team building performance on Razor's part, so I commend him for that. As for the Toronto Staraptors, we are now 3-1, bouncing back from our loss to Cheese Boy last week, and I am very happy with my performance in this game. And so now we will be moving on to play Michael, Orlando Bandit, and the Green Bay Palkias, who have been doing very well this season. I believe after this week, they have a 3-1 record, which is the same record that we have, and they're actually leading my division with the highest differential. So everyone in my division is 3-1, by the way. Michael beats Cheeseboy this week, so everyone in my division is 3-1. So every division game counts so much as far as the playoffs are concerned. I have to win. I need to win the game next week in order to be in a good position to make the playoffs at the end of the season. So I'll definitely be working very hard on my team for next week. I do like my matchup in that week as well, I believe. So we'll see what I can come up with. But thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video, and we will be back to our regularly scheduled programming next week with the team building video on Tuesday. So I hope you enjoyed, guys. I will see you next time. Peace.